So we actually had another question relating to university, which I'm just going to read out, that was submitted. It said, when I go off to university, my peers will be both Jewish and non-Jewish. We're in a Jewish school right now, but you're going to have non-Jewish peers as well. I will want to widen my circle of friends to include non-Jewish people. As a rabbi, do you see anything wrong with this?
My circle's wide enough to include people who are Jewish and not Jewish. I would say no. Well, why would there be a problem? I mean, you look at many, certainly if not most, great Jewish figures in history, and they had relationships in the Jewish and non-Jewish world. As Jews, we don't believe God just cares about Jews. He cares about humanity. We have a very important role to play in history, but lots of other people have roles to play, and they're very important. Humanity is valuable. Every human is in the image of God. Abram's told, you've got to be a blessing to the whole world. No, on the contrary, definitely widen your circles, widen what you connect with. I would say something else. Otherwise we're just some kind of ethnic racist group. That's not what we're trying to be. The importance of staying connected to our Jewishness on campus is because what we have to give to the world is so much. Jewish religion, Jewish values, Jewish history has so much to give to the world. And the more we have of it, the more of a blessing we can be to others. But absolutely, let's be that blessing. Be strong in our... And it's not a contradiction. Some people think, do I hang out with the Jewish? Do I hang out with the non-Jewish? Hang out with everybody. The Jewishness, it's a bit like family and the wider community, that this is our family, this is where we nurture our values and ideals from, and there's a wider world which we interact with and form friendships in, and which we can be a blessing to as well.
So what do you see when people and parents, or you might have grandparents that are concerned that, it might lead people to lessen or lose their Jewish identity by being very engaged among non-Jewish peers in a non-Jewish workplace and sort of being on a sliding slope away from their Jewish identity and Jewish values? What do you think about that?
I always say your identity should not be because you've run away from the world. Your identity should not be because you've been shielded from wider society. Our identity, and by the way, this is a great challenge for everybody. If you've been in a Jewish school all your life, that is very powerful, by the way. There is no question, despite all the hostility to faith schools in the world around us, that faith schools statistically produce all sorts of great things. You might argue what's the cause and what's the effect, but in principle, faith schools produce students who perform very well, who become very upstanding and outstanding members of society, and you are part of that, and you're going to be there, and that's fantastic. At the same time, we can't let our identity just be that we were just in a Jewish school. That can't be. Once we leave school, we start to own our identity, and our identity becomes our own. And if our identity is just, I'm cloistered and sheltered, that's not an identity, or it's a very weak identity. An identity should be, I love this because I love it. And the ability to love our Judaism comes from studying Judaism, from growing in Judaism, from those sorts of things, each in their own way, in their own level, wherever exactly it speaks to us. But that's what forms our Jewish identity.
What would you say is the number one reason to be a proud Jew?
Well, if a person believes God wrote the Torah, that's a pretty serious, proud reason to be a proud Jew. But I would say, you look at what Judaism is, and you look at what the Jewish people have done in the world, and there's I think it was Tolstoy who wrote a very powerful line, a non-Jewish Russian intellectual writer, and he says, the Jew is the emblem of eternity. And let me just make this point. When we speak about Jewish pride, we don't ever mean denigrating others. This is really important. But we do mean there's something very proud about what the Jewish people have achieved in history. And I don't even mean won Nobel Prizes. I mean the extent to which Jewish values challenged civilization for thousands of years, and again civilization turned around, as often oppressing or hostile to Jews as a result, but would then turn around centuries later and adopt Jewish ideas and ideals. And Tolstoy writes, the Jew is the emblem of eternity. And it's something like, you have to forgive me if I forget the exact quote, it's something like, he whom neither slaughter nor torture nor inquisition could wipe off the face of the world. He who was the first to produce the oracles of God, was the guardian of transmission, and who transmitted to the rest of the world. He says such a nation cannot be destroyed. The Jew is everlasting as eternity itself. Jews have stood in the world always for the idea of God doesn't love power. Often God loves the powerless. That dictators, the Jewish texts were the texts that were used time and again against dictators, or even against too much political power, even too much religious power in the 17th century thinkers. But the concept that God loves every single human being and that every human has value, these are beautiful things. And being proud of what this nation has done and brought to the world and what Jewish people still stand for and still have to bring to the world. The idea that you can relate to yourself as chosen and relate to nobody else as rejected. The idea that you can see every human as special and at the same time see that there's practices that are sacred. The idea that we can actually believe in the sacred in the world without running away from the world. These are all beautiful ideas and ideals. The idea of a Shabbat and a Sabbath whilst you're economically engaged in the world. All of these sorts of principles are things that there's so much to nurture from, grow from, and be proud of. If you want a very beautiful thing, if you haven't seen Rabbi Sachs's little cartoon video, that's worth seeing as well for a great summary. But what there is to be proud of as a Jewish people, the text, the meaning, the history that we've had, what we've given to the world, and what we continue to give to the world, that is something to be incredibly proud of and incredibly connected to.
To stay up to date with the latest JCV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.